Alex grew up in Millbrook, a town he always found too small for his big curiosity. An only child, Alex spent most of his time indoors tinkering with computers, radios, and electronics while his single mother worked long hours at the local diner. He dropped out of college after discovering he could make a living debugging software and hacking into test systems for clients, a remote job that fed his love of problem solving. Despite his talents, Alex carries a deep insecurity. He often felt like he is just a kid with a computer, not someone who can make a real difference. One day, Alex was working on his computer. He has his headphone put on. Then he heard a strange disturbance on his headphone. The first time Alex Chen heard the signal, he almost missed it. A whisper beneath static, a melody that shouldn't exist. It crept through his headphones at exactly 3:33 a.m., while he was debugging code for his latest app. Most people would have written it off as late-night interference, but Alex had spent enough time around radio frequencies to know this was different. The signal didn't behave like any normal transmission. It seemed to seep through every electronic device in Millbrook simultaneously, regardless of frequency or connection. Within weeks, the whole town was talking about it. Mrs. Peterson's prize-winning Persian cat vanished without a trace. The Williams security cameras captured impossible shadows. Every night, at 3:33 a.m., the town held its breath. Alex's apartment became a command center of sorts, walls covered in spectrograms and signal analysis printouts. His friend Jamie thought he were obsessed. "It's probably just some kids with a powerful transmitter," Jamie insisted. But Alex saw the patterns others missed. Buried in the static were numbers, coordinates. The bunker wasn't on any map, but Alex found it anyway, hidden beneath decades of forest growth. The massive steel door should have been rusted shut, but it swung open at their touch, inviting them into the darkness below. The air smelled of ozone and something else, something older. Alex froze, unwilling to go inside. But Jamie, his friend, said we can't back away after coming this far. Inside, he found a facility frozen in time, except it wasn't frozen at all. Banks of computers hummed with life, their screens flickering with code that looked more organic than digital. At the center of it all stood a massive circular chamber, its walls covered in symbols that seemed to shift when viewed directly. That's when the town elders found them. Mayor Harrison, Dr. Wells, and others Alex had known his whole life emerged from the shadows, their faces grim. They told a story that seemed impossible. Of a tear between dimensions discovered during the Cold War, an entity came to Earth. The entity is an ancient being from a dimension where time and space are mutable. It once ruled over its world by feeding on the fears of lesser creatures, growing stronger with each scream, every ounce of despair. Over millennia, it became a singularity of malevolence. During the Cold War, the U.S. government conducted experiments in dimensional energy beneath Millbrook, hoping to harness power beyond human understanding. In one such experiment, they accidentally tore a rift into the entity's dimension. It crossed over, drawn to the human emotions it had never encountered before: fear, curiosity, and ambition. Initially, the entity presented itself as a source of knowledge, whispering solutions to unsolvable problems into the minds of researchers. But each solution came at a cost. Accidents, madness, and death followed in its wake. By the time the scientists realized the truth, the entity had sunk its claws into the town, turning it into its hunting ground. To stop it, a barrier hastily constructed using technology brought by the entity they barely understood. Suddenly, Dr. Wells shouted,
"The signal!"
Dr. Wells shouted, her voice trembling. "It's a containment warning. The barrier is failing." But as Alex processed this information, patterns started clicking into place. The coordinates hidden in the signal hadn't led them to the bunker by accident. The entity had been calling to them specifically, recognizing in Alex the perfect combination of curiosity and capability. Each mysterious occurrence in town had been orchestrated, a breadcrumb trail leading to this moment. The entity's whispers grew stronger, promising answers to questions Alex hadn't even thought to ask. The barrier's weakness became apparent, a flaw in its code that only someone with Alex's unique skills could exploit or repair. Standing before the gateway's pulsing energies, Alex made his choice. They weren't going to be another link in this chain of secrets and fear. Instead of destroying the bunker or trying to repair the old barrier, they began to write new code. His code. Lines of programming flowed from his fingers, weaving together modern encryption with the facility's quantum architecture. The entity fought back, transforming the signal into a deafening screech that threatened to shatter both dimensions. When Alex begins writing new code for the barrier, the entity lashes out. It transforms the signal into a deafening, mind-breaking screech, showing Alex vivid hallucinations of his deepest insecurities. It whispers,
"You are nothing. A child playing with tools you don't understand."
As Alex's fingers hesitated over the keyboard, the entity whispered louder, images of failure and ridicule flashing in his mind. His hands trembled, but then he remembered the nights spent debugging, the puzzles only he could solve. The whispers became background noise, and now he spoke it with authority. He wasn't just patching the barrier, he was transforming it into something new, a filter instead of a wall, allowing energy to flow harmlessly while keeping the entity contained. Sparks erupted from the consoles as the chamber walls began to glow with shifting symbols. Alex's screen flickered, lines of code appearing and vanishing faster than they could type.
"It's holding."
"Doctor," Wells whispered, her voice a mix of relief and awe. The screeching faded to a hum, then to blessed silence. For the first time in decades, at 3:33 a.m., the signal returned, soft and melodic, like a heartbeat steadying after a storm. For the first time, Millbrook slept peacefully beneath its glow, and 3:33 a.m. passed without a signal. In the aftermath, the town began to heal. Missing pets returned, stepping out of the shadows as if they'd never left. The elders, finally unburdened of their secret, worked with Alex to establish a new council, one dedicated to maintaining the barrier and preparing the next generation to take up the watch. And if sometimes, in the deepest part of night, Alex hears a whisper of code in his dreams, well, that's a small price to pay for turning an ancient threat into something like a conversation. The entity remains, but now it's part of a system it can't corrupt, bound by algorithms it can't comprehend. In the end, Alex realized, the greatest protection wasn't in walls or weapons, but in understanding, in taking something meant to destroy and teaching it, line by line, how to coexist. Every night at 3:33 a.m., a different kind of signal pulses through Millbrook. Not a warning or a lure, but a reminder that some mysteries are better shared than sealed away, and that the brightest lights often shine from the darkest places.